Salutations, glorious Ashes of Creation community. Today we are doing our development update as we do every month, and we're so excited to have you all join us. Welcome everyone, and today we have a whole bunch of new people to show off some really cool things about with our team. Steven's looking at all of them, they're all waiting patiently. But first we'll kind of introduce ourselves. I'm Margaret Crone, I'm your community and marketing lead here, and with me as always is...
I am Steven Sharif, I'm the creative director.
Yeah.
On Ashes.
We're
Starting strong! Sorry.
Are you the creative director? I don't
I
know.
am indeed.
I am Jeffrey Bard. I am the lead designer. Good seeing you guys.
Yeah.
Hello,
so
friends.
today, just to kind of give you what we're going to go over, if you're new to our stream and you haven't watched these before, we are going to have people from our team joining us. We have a development update from our engineering team. Our engineering team actually has a video for you all this time.
Yeah.
Design, character art, and environment art. So we kind of have the whole slew of the crew. And then we also gathered questions from the community. And our international team as well has submitted some questions. So... we have some quick updates. We'll go through those really fast, and then we'll move forward with all of our development stuff, because that's what y'all want to see. We put out a creative director's letter. Steven kind of showed off the mayoral caravan system. We had a video.
Yeah, that was
big milestone
great.
for us.
People seem to really like it.
I know we had spoken about that, on stream like a couple streams previously. So it was cool. Jeff did some recording.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Got to drive a caravan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
around
we
the
had
world.
a few of our team members joining and helping try to defend you. Otherwise, Jeff
Those
has tried
monsters
to
are
do it
hard.
before and he died.
I did.
So
I died many times.
he was like, I need people. I was like, you can take my people, it's fine. And
Have my people.
have my people. Our next test is going to be August 20th, 11 a.m. We all know that is kind of something you all have been waiting for. 11 a.m. PDT, we should be specific. In the article, as well as in the forum post, we also link to all of the other time zones. So if you don't want to Google it and you want to click a link, we got you.
Big deal for us.
Nice.
We're real excited.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're, when we discussed getting the back end fixes that we had going and vetted through our QA, this is going to be a next big test of those fixes, and it's very instrumental in preparing for the MMORPG's alphas because, obviously we want to make sure we can get as many people on screen. We have a lot of big systems that are massive with the number of players we intend to have.
Hundreds.
And the great thing about the APOC test, as many of you know, is that it does help us test those things early.
And we learned a lot, I think, from our previous tests.
Absolutely.
We got a lot of
like
good
night and
data.
day.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so hopefully we can make that experience even better for you all. And
So
then we can move
make sure
on
to join us, by the way, for that.
Yes.
Which was
Join
when?
us.
August 20th,
August 20th.
11 a.m. PDT.
Yes.
Or will we be in PST by then? No.
No,
I don't
not
know.
yet.
Not yet.
That's like November.
Time zones. I don't know why they need
Let's
to
get rid of
change. Well, I think we probably need
Get
some
rid of
semblance
time
of time.
zones?
Oh, sorry.
You
I thought
can
you meant
wait,
daylight
you
savings.
can use UTC.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, you could use UTC. I did try that, but people just got really confused.
Yeah.
Of course, we have one other thing that we're going to announce too, which is our winners of our kittens and puppies.
Yes.
Our Kickstarters voted on this, and the winners are the Dogget and the Peacat. So there you go. Mad shout out to, I don't know if you noticed, but we have lots of new graphics. I finally have a senior graphics designer on my team. I'm so excited. But he also made this awesome graphic. That trophy he made, it has like cat tail and little cat ears and little cat whiskers. That's
I
so
saw
cute.
that. That's awesome.
You need to have that
But
3D.
I
where's
think
the dog representation on the ribbon?
I know, I was like, we need a bone, but we didn't have enough time, so.
Wow.
Yeah,
This studio
sorry.
is way lopsided on the cat team.
That'd great. Is that dog it? Deserved to win.
But you know
I'm
what's
a
funny
dog.
is Mike also has a dog, so, it weighs out.
Dogs are the superior species.
Yeah, Steven has a couple dogs.
I'm sorry.
I do have a lot of pictures of his dog in my in my camera roll. If you look at it, it's pretty funny. So yeah, that was the vote that y'all voted on. So thank you so much to everybody who did that and voted. And we really enjoyed seeing everyone fighting for it. The dog it barely won because the husky was like 4 votes away. 4 votes away. So I think
It was a tight race.
we need to do something with
We
the
were
husky
nail biting here.
down the line for
Yeah.
sure. After seeing that, so thank you all for doing that. Yeah, I think
All
that's
right.
kind of it. And we're
I think
gonna
I'm
go-
getting kicked out.
We're gonna
What?
go into all the things, unless
Yep,
Steven has
they're
any
making me
extra
leave.
studio stuff that he wants to mention before we
We're
head
very excited.
He's trying to order lunch for everybody.
No. I handed that off actually.
Okay.
She delegated.
That's why we were running like 1 minute late. I was like, Steven, we gotta go.
We're
You
very-
need people to handle that.
We're very excited for the test upcoming next month. It's really a pivotal marker in a lot of the rework that we did. I know we just discussed that a second ago, but it's very exciting to get that out there and get that more testing hammering it. So
Yeah.
that's going to be good.
The whole studio is really excited, and I mean, you're going to see all the people who are going to be representing their teams here, who are excited to share all the goodies with you, and also even looking into the future with Castle Siege stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
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 Okay.
All right.
Jeff. We'll have Jeff
Bye,
back.
guys.
Bye.
Jeff decided to let another person on the design team
Heck
join
yeah.
for his team. So first up, we have our engineering. Don't take the chair with you. Unbelievable.
Welcome, Alexi.
Alex.
Or Alex,
Alex.
sorry.
I know.
Either
He has Alex on his stuff, so I put Alex.
Oh, sorry. My
I
bad.
have to separate.
Alexi.
So introduce yourself. Talk about what you do on our team.
Sure. My name is Alex, as you know. I'm a programmer. I've been working here for at least 2 years now.
Yeah.
I think I've touched pretty much every system.
One of our
in the game.
star programmers, by the way. Alexi has a very wide field of capabilities as a generalist, and he touches a lot of gameplay stuff too. So he gets the fun stuff.
So you'll probably be seeing him on this stream maybe in the future as well. Also, all the other programmers were like, "How'd you get Alex to get on?"
No.
He's like, "Nah, I'm fine." And
Yeah.
if you watched some of the D&D stuff that you guys have or Pathfinder stuff that you guys have done, Alex was on those
That's
streams,
right. The
Yeah.
last Extra Life. You
Yeah.
played with us for a little
I
bit.
played a paladin.
Yes,
for
a paladin.
brief 6 hours.
A very strong paladin.
Brief 6 hours.
Okay, you missed the risk game.
But yeah, let's talk about
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
what your team has been up to.
Team been up to many things. I've been working on Castle Siege's mechanics. Other like Mark and other like Kevin was working on pulling for servers so that they stood up faster. It's a lot of things we are wrapping up, and a lot of things we're still developing for MMO, like networking. We have a few people working on right now. That's
A lot of fun stuff.
A lot of fun stuff.
Also, a lot of bug crushing
oh yeah,
as
that's
well.
true.
Yeah.
A lot of bug crashing.
Yeah.
Fast iteration.
And
heard that the
optimization.
I heard that the QA team was happy with like how hard you guys are working on all those bugs.
True.
So in our last leads meeting, so that was nice.
This is
So,
true.
yeah.
You guys have been hammering
Yeah.
through some bugs.
So good
That's
job.
great. Yeah, thanks. Oh,
And
Let's
then of course the optimization and performance stuff. Right?
oh yeah, optimization performance is a big thing for us, and then we've been doing a lot of benchmarks with different specs, making sure that our effects are on point, that doesn't spawn a million different meshes, that hitches you for a few seconds, and the big hitters. That's been looking at.
I think one of the great things about optimization and the scalability settings that engineering has provided is just the range of rigs that we want to be able to run on, right? From the literal potatoes to the supercomputers, and actually getting to see just how crazy awesome a lot of the art is and the graphics are in the game. If you want that really high end thing, or if you want to run super performant, then you can play the potato.
So let's first talk about, I think you've been working on like the castle control points and the channeling tech for that stuff. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more
Sure.
about that.
For the past few months, I've been working on control points, and so basically, there's a lot of things that go in the control points, and we want to make it as modular as possible, so that when we take them, we can apply them in Castle Siege mode or Castle Siege and MMO. So there is no work that basically is wasted. Yeah, and then big important thing in that is that to make sure that we have designers be able to work with it, animators, special effects guys. So there's a lot of things going on for a programmer, for example, that needs to be able to put in different hooks. So for example, like when someone runs in, what do we expect it to happen? It's like, we should probably send an event to our effects artist, say, hey, here's an event, you should probably hook and put your effects here. For a sound artist, sound designer too, same thing. And there's different functionality control points have, right? You can have a person run in and stand there and wait for, like a domination style. It's like for a few seconds, and it becomes
And
yours.
you have like a
Yeah, and then there is a pop out for a UI saying, hey, this zone has been flipped, and now do something about it, right?
Yeah.
Also, part of that objective-based system that you've been coding has also been the unique buffs that each objective
Correct.
can have.
Oh yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So like if a defender, for example, gets and then conquers it, all the defenders will receive this buff. Another thing, also the different styles of objective, right? Maybe some needs to come up to it and channel it uninterruptedly for 10 to 20 seconds. And the whole thing, every time we program these kind of modules, we always need to be design friendly so that every small detail can be tweaked by design.
Right.
And it's very important because during our testing, we're more dynamic and iterative.
Yeah, the other cool thing about that the objective system, as you're coding it, is the way we've designed objectives to work in the game is a little bit different than how we've previously seen objectives in other games. Whereas, there's pretty much in other games I played where you have objectives, the objectives all are the same, right? You capture it, you get some score in the benefit. There's maybe a win condition with the objective capture. With our objectives, they have strategic bonuses to each one that's on the field. So, as these engagements are happening, there are real objectives that will actually influence your team and your abilities on the field that you're going to be needing to strategically decide how you're going to move your raid towards those different objectives. Those are pretty cool to see too.
Correct. Yeah, and then one of the things is also like if you can't capture it for the first time, maybe you get a bonus, not only buff but duration of the match itself.
Right.
Let's say
being
if you
able
have
to
a limit.
influence your opponent's respawn, your own
Correct.
respawn, your channel times, all kind of get added into that reward for capturing these objectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of variables you have to keep track of, which is fun. That was
Yeah,
fun.
for sure.
And then the next thing you wanted to kind of go over was the player character response, like the locations, the rules, and the types.
Correct. Like for example, in standard MMO, we have many respawn points that you can spawn. For example, Castle Siege, we want to make sure that since we have two teams, we have two opposite sides of respawn, and whenever you die, there is a choice whether like we can code it up so that you click a button and then you respawn immediately, or you just wait and until a certain duration has passed, and then everyone who has died like respawn immediately. They're pulled together and then they're ready to attack the castle together instead of streaming one by one.
And obviously, you guys have probably seen that in other games that you've had, team-based battles in. The pooling is beneficial because you don't want your, teammates to trickle out one by one and die.
And then one at a
board.
time die, like
Right.
feeding into the enemy.
So it's definitely beneficial, to have those systems in place where you have those options.
And then another thing, if we decide to have more than one respawn point, basically it's up to engineering team to figure out what's the closest respawn point, for example, or give you a prompt saying, hey, I want to respawn at this point instead of that point.
Right.
So that's
And having
also,
the UI hooks to be able to
exactly,
do that,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
It's and then building it modular too, so that you can reapply the same logic for other events like MMO regular respawn points and arena respawn points when we have arenas and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it'd be really cool to kind of see, some of this graphically. I know that you have a video.
That one was more towards
a little while ago. You were playing with the siege weapons.
Yeah, siege weapons, which I was about to
We
go
will
over.
maybe show some of the capture point stuff later down the line, but I think the first thing that you wanted to show was the weapons and the siege vehicles, and you have a video. So we'll kind of show those off, and we can talk over them as we're showing them. So go ahead and walk us through. Oh,
Oops,
that's
wrong
not
one.
it. Sneak peek to something in the future.
Oh no.
There we go.
There you go,
This is your work on
So
it,
explain
right?
to us a little bit about what goes into coding some of the functionality behind siege weapons during sieges.
So first of all, you need to create a base class in code that says, hey, I'm gonna code vehicles, right? And it's gonna be your base modular class that you will be reusing later on for blueprints. And let's say we're gonna have more than just one vehicle trebuchet. You can basically use this as a base and expand on top of later on. So for example, for trebuchets, I had a regular trebuchet that you can drive, and then I coded up a trebuchet that allows you to add some physics fun.
So that, just so you guys know, that's a little bit of physics fun where, you know, they're not being destroyed, but they're getting thrown across the map.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's more polish that'll be going into this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You guys are seeing works in progress. Make
Yep.
sure.
So, like for example, we have two trebuchets, which one is a stationary and one is one you can drive yourself, and you can kind of pan your camera and you can zoom in, zoom out, and then your primary fire currently it's firing. And when you code it up, you need to also make it flexible for designers. For example, let's say we want to have a different kind of projectile for this mode, or different projectile for, like, let's say we've decided to create a battle ram, right? It's going to be more close range projectile that people can.
You didn't quite make it there.
Yeah. Second try, I think. Second try will work. Yeah. So yeah, and then after that, I moved on to ballistas, which you see right now, which are stationary, kind of like full control. You can use the camera first person. You're able to, you know, do the firing range.
Things like a Gatling gun.
Yeah, exactly. And then right now you don't see like the ammo because it's, I think it's pounding a little bit above because we're still debugging it. But basically it will spawn a projectile when you fire it, and then we have to set different firing rate, reload rate, how much ammo it should consume if there is any. Is it infinite ammo, right? Additionally, we coded up modularly to have different firing states. So let's say you don't want to just fire one at a time. Let's say it's a Gatling gun, you want to fire 10 at a time, right?
Yeah.
Or like the mode of, you know, super powerful that requires you 10 seconds in reload, right? And those are mode will be supported by code, where design will come in and say, hey, I want to have 3 modes, 4 modes, 5 modes, and then these are the keys that you go between them.
And part of your, you know, your coding practice is to give those tools to design so that they don't have to come back to code all the time necessarily. But, you know, they can make rare, you know, trebuchets or rare, you know, specific data that's different.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, and I know our animators and our artists have been working on like models for like the little bucket that you're gonna sit in as well as a character.
So those are the companion, So there are some other trebuchets that have companion seats potentially, where your players on your team can sit in these seats and have their own little like crossbow gun on the trebuchet to defend it.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good stuff.
Fun.
So, anything else that you want to like chat with everybody about?
No, I mean,
you know, a funny story. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. No, what? It's just a funny story. So Alex's game name, game handle is Slurpee. And Alex and I actually first met in ArcAge about, like, what, 7 or 8 years ago?
Somewhere,
right?
yeah.
Like 7 or 8 years ago.
Alex is a wee baby.
No, he was a
Wee baby.
No, he was working at Amazon as a programmer at Amazon at the time. Anyway, so Alex had a guild in ArcAge that was primarily around like mercenary services, escorting people's trade goods and, like, you know, their halls and whatnot. And he joined, his guild merged into our guild, and he became one of my commanders. And then when I decided to start Intrepid, Alex is like, I code, I fly.
I code, I fly.
I'm bored. So that's a funny story. And actually, Alex's girlfriend, Sam, we recruited her in ArcAge to the guild as well. So it's just, in my opinion, that story just kind of reflects on how, you know, the gamerness inside Intrepid is strong. And you guys know these stories because you're a part of, you know, guilds, and these things happen. And it's just fun to see, you know, the full circle of friendship that can be created in an online community.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have met so many people who have formed relationships, gotten married, have kids, and their whole family now plays together. Like,
oh yeah,
it's precious.
A lot of fun.
Amazing. But now I can't play anymore.
I know. Now we can't play any more games. Oh wait.
Like,
Whoops. Sorry.
Thanks, Steven.
Thanks, Steven.
You're gonna murder every Slurpee.
All right, Alex. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much.
joining us.
In the Discord.
I'm sure we'll see you
That's
again
true.
on the stream because
That's true.
he works on a lot of really awesome systems.
Yep.
So we're going to be bringing on design.
Thanks,
Speaking
Alex.
of design, and thank you,
I'll leave the
Alex.
chair for.
Yeah.
Oh, leave the chair. Yeah.
Don't
Consider
take
it, unlike Jeff.
Jeff just took the chair.
Hello, JR.
What's up, guys?
JR.
What's going on, buddy?
JR, you might have seen him in our recent director's letter when we had our new faces up there, and also on our team page. So first, tell people who you are, maybe a little bit about you, maybe where you came from a little bit.
Sure.
And that kind of stuff.
My name's JR. I've been in the industry about 20 years. Spent like the last 5 or so working on some independent projects, and had a friend, Audio Adam, that was like, "Hey, this guy's starting."
I like that he's
starting
Audio
his
Adam now.
studio. You got to check it out. So I reached out to Steve, and about 2 months ago, it sort of worked out, and here I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
We're very
today-
excited to have JR, by the way, because he has a lot of great experience in the industry. He's been on some pretty awesome projects in the past that a lot of us have probably played and had a great time in. And he's a very well-rounded designer. I mean, he's been there and seen a lot of things. So
Yeah.
he has a lot of experience, which another great thing is a lot of UE4 experience too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And today you're going to be showing off UI stuff, but like, let's talk a little bit about like maybe what your team is working on. And then
Okay.
get into that.
Design's doing just a ton of tuning right now.
lot of balance
Weapons,
stuff.
weapon balance, XP, loot.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, all the goodies for sure. I'm doing the UI right now. Just about finished with first pass for that. So, and that's kind of like everything from the front end to the lobby to the store customization, and just getting that feel down.
Okay.
A
Well,
lot of that UI stuff, by the way, just to clarify, is on the APOC, that's intended for APOC testing. But the great thing about that now is we get to, prepare and lay out what is going to be the UI in the MMORPG Alpha client as well.
And you've been seeing some of that, like if you looked at the mayoral stuff, you'll see some of the UI that has been changing through that.
Yes.
We'll be showing more of that stuff as we go on. But yeah, let's transition and go check out all of that, and you can kind of talk right over this.
Sure.
What you're
Okay, so
overseeing.
this is the lobby right now. This is just about first pass, and we sort of stripped back down from what was there to this much cleaner, simpler version. And that's the UMG designer. So basically I get art from the artist, and then there's like a hidden button there that I just lay the art over top of, and that gives it the functionality. And then the backdrop there is like, click this hidden button, pan this camera, or unlock this item, purchase this thing, like whatever the base functionality is for that. Friend request panel there, ad player, just all the basic interaction in the lobby before you even
loading
start the
screen
game.
stuff. Yeah. And of course, like all of this is work in progress. We actually have new models, so the model or like new face model. So
This is from a little while
Yeah.
ago, but the other cool thing about talking just about UI, for those of you who aren't aware, Unreal Engine has a UMG UI, but we're also using an additional program from Coherent Labs called Hummingbird, and one of the biggest things about MMORPGs is the UI. There's so many complex UI systems because there are so many systems in MMORPGs, more so than most games. And we want to make sure that our UI is not going to occupy so much space on the screen. We want you to still have that immersion factor when you're playing Ashes of Creation. And we also want to make sure, most importantly, that our UI is very performant, that it is not taking up a lot of tick time on
we
the
did
client.
a test where everyone was
sure.
like spamming all their UI. They're like, spam everything,
Yeah.
open all the inventory.
Yeah, I mean, it's like minimalist, but still communicate whatever that information is, especially in game. You get in there, you want to see that item quick, and you don't want to be like staring at all this extra.
Right.
Sometimes it
periphery.
can be overwhelming too
for
when you're
sure.
like when you have a lot of abilities and there's a lot of stuff going on your screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like basic data, some color coding. We have like different types of items have different colors. So
I
it's
think
like you can
for-
just see it spot quick.
For the
and pick it
MMO,
up.
I think it's gonna be more drastic because you have a lot of people, right? Like if you're raiding or going against a big mob and have a large group of people, trying to make sure all that data comes in but is understandable and not cluttering your space.
For sure.
All right. Well, you got anything else you want to share with us from the design team in regards to that?
I think we're good. Yeah, just lots of tuning coming along.
Cool. I know Jeff is going to be answering a lot of design questions because we got a lot from the community over here. So we're going to move on to our
Thanks, guys.
environment
Thanks,
team.
JR.
We have a new face as well from our environment team that's coming onto our live stream. You may have seen him in a Dev Diaries in the past.
Devin!
Devin! Yay!
Hello.
Hi, Devin.
Oh, this delay is weird.
Oh,
yeah.
a little bit.
This is
Okay.
normal for us. We're used to
Yeah.
it now. Tell us a little bit about who you are. Maybe like your journey as a environment artist. And then of course,
I'm Devin. I'm an environment artist. I've been an environment artist for 22 years now.
I've worked on a lot of MMO games,
I've worked with Devin for
and I've worked
A really
with
long
like
time.
3/4 of the studio. Yeah. We used to play soccer together.
Yeah, we used to
Remember
play soccer together.
I didn't
We used
know
to, yeah, we had a team
Like
that
a
was for a
company
company
team.
team.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Want to sponsor a company team,
Heck
Steven?
yeah, let's do it. I don't know about soccer though.
What?
What?
What sport would
Like
you want?
softball or
Oh,
something,
I
or
don't-
volleyball.
I don't think I'd be.
Oh.
I think it was volleyball, softball. Actually, I don't mind playing softball. It's just the waiting and watching part I don't
Too
like.
much sitting.
I want,
Yeah,
like, the
soccer I get to
Sandlot
like
vibe.
be part of it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. You got to run so much. in
Yeah, I
soccer.
like that.
In softball, you just got to stand there.
Wait,
Look up in the sky. So you see where my mind's at. It's like-
Yeah, you can drink.
yeah, exactly.
Drink on the
Right.
sideline. Oh my god! Except for Steven doesn't even drink that.
I know. I don't drink. I don't drink any alcohol, but
I was like,
I don't have to run in softball unless you hit the ball, which rarely happens.
Well, tell us
Sorry.
what your team has been up to. We can bring it back.
Let's see, what have we been doing? We've been doing a ton of optimizations.
Yeah.
So poor Ted and Nate have had to go through the game and rip apart stuff that we did poorly or we rushed through and improve it. So that's been a lot. Nate's done a really good job of finding good, what are those called? Presets or something, where he has a text file that changes all the numbers. So our frame rate's pretty solid. We're pretty happy.
Yeah, I've been very surprised just with the performance and optimization that Environment alone has been able to accomplish with a lot of the art assets that we're using in game, the practices for LODs and HLODs.
Yeah.
That's been pretty cool.
It's like magic. It's black magic. You push a button and it makes your building into one little tiny building that's one texture, and it's insane.
I think a lot of times people think of environment artists as just artists, but really you guys do a lot of programming as well and engineering.
I guess so. It's pretty technical. I would say that it can be a very technical niche of the game development. Yeah. So
Well-
yeah, they've been doing that. I've been working on the new starting area, which we'll show I guess in a little bit.
You can show it now.
Yeah, we
I
can
think
show it.
Michael.
So pretty.
So just to give a little bit of
Oh, yeah.
background here, right, is this is the APOC. This is an APOC map, but it's representative of what will be a ruined city in the MMORPG. And this is a capital city, one of the Elven capital cities, where one of the Divine Gateways was.
Yeah.
So Devin, this is
this
a
is
lot
so
of your
pretty.
work.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do a lot of the assets, but it was a week of just putting stuff down and trying things out, making it look more formal.
At one point, you
last
sent
one
a
looked-
screenshot out that made it look like there were little horse poops
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah. I dropped a bunch of rocks everywhere. They looked like horse turds. That was fun. So yeah, I was just trying to make it feel more dramatic and cool.
That looks sort of like the Brandenburg Gate.
Yeah, it does. A lot of it
Just takes the
is using the same assets over and over and over again. So actually, the frame rate's really good in here.
Yeah, it is. I was
It's
noticing
nice.
that.
It's nice when you can have a contained area. You can.
I think I had like
you
a
can throw a lot of
970 and it was
stuff
like
out.
120 frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun to do. I realized today that the super jump is really high, so you can actually jump out,
Jump
of, it.
out of
So
it.
I had to stick a roof on top, like an invisible roof.
Oh, good thing you figured that out.
And-
Players
and
will figure that out real quick.
There's a secret flip-flop hidden in the level.
Yay!
there's
Only Tristan and I know where it is. We won't
So,
tell anybody.
I want you guys
and
to
we
find it,
we renamed the flip-flop asset a weird name. So
You
Well,
can't,
you
even,
told
you
them
can't even
that,
find it.
so-
No,
no
one
one
will
on
be
the
able to
team.
find it.
No one on the team can search the Unreal Depot for the
Yeah.
flip-flop.
So they will literally never be able to find it.
So only Tristan and I know.
So, your job when August 20th rolls
Yeah,
around, find it. Send us a screenshot. You can tweet at us at Ashes of
Do we
Creation.
have prizes for people that find
You'll,
it?
mean, I
you'll
don't
get
know
them
if
free
it's
flip-flops.
The first finder will get a set of Ashes flip flop.
There you go.
We don't have
Totally
any
do that. We'll
Ashes
find one.
Gold-plated flip-flops.
Cool.
I'll run up to Rainbow and they can do them.
Like little custom
Yeah.
flip-flops. Oh my goodness. We'll see what we can do. But definitely send us screenshots. We'd love to see it. The problem is that when one person finds it,
No,
then
no, just the
everyone-
first wins.
Oh, just
first
the
one
first
to get
one.
to us.
Tristan and I were talking about building
First
a
one to tweet
blueprint
us.
that randomly puts it in different spots in the level.
Yeah, so what I had talked to Tristan
But
about, and
we thought that would scare
he
the
agreed to it, was every time we do a patch update is hiding the sandal somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And when we do the MMO,
I like
there
that.
will be a sandal hidden somewhere as well.
I like that. So
Yeah.
Tristan's a little prankster.
Yeah, he is.
Like three years ago, when we had one of our first MMO levels, he hit a little trigger volume that when you entered into one of the caves, this giant ball of Nicolas Cage's face would fall out of the sky, and mariachi music would start playing.
That's good.
I also want to note, no one has found this yet, but in the Battle Royale map, there is a hidden area with a sandal shrine.
Yeah.
No one
Yes.
has found it yet. No one has sent me
It's
a
called
screenshot.
Sandalia.
Sandalia.
It's ridiculous.
I like
So, first person to show us that, we'll see what we can do with that too.
That one may be hard to find.
That one's
Somebody
that one's hard.
did
That
find
one's
that.
no.
Here's
No
a
one
hint.
yet
You
has
have to
found it.
destroy something to
Oh.
find
Oh,
it.
you're giving
That's
them
a
hints. That's a
huge
huge
hint.
hint.
That's not a huge hint.
They're
That's
gonna
a huge
destroy
hint.
everything.
I'm not gonna say what you have
That's
to
a
say.
pretty big hint. So I guess.
Oh, and we did concepts.
Yeah, I've got some
Right,
concepts.
do you have concepts up?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys get to see a little bit of the Purian.
Pyre
Yeah, the
elves.
Pyre, right.
Yeah. They're really cool.
It's beautiful.
They're very elegant. I'm looking forward to
So
trying.
this is a lot of the look and feel of
Oh, I love these tents.
okay,
too.
these are the actual asset concepts, but a lot of the look and feel of what that area is going to look like in these assets that you see kind of from this is one of the encampment and or expedition phases.
Yeah, so we're really getting through all of the. I mean, you've been seeing a lot of the concepts for each of the different races, and we're trying to basically make all of those stages, which require a lot of assets and a lot of buildings, and especially utilizing some of that the programming in regards to like creating those dynamically, right? So that we have different buildings and different shapes and
Yeah.
things like that, which
These
is
ones are going to be
much
hard to do
harder.
like that.
Yeah.
They're very asymmetrical
Mm-hmm.
and very curvy.
Good luck, Devin.
We'll try it. I'll try it out. I'll do my best. But they look exciting.
They
They're
do
always
look
fun
exciting.
because they give you I don't know, like a good starting point to play with.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. At least when I
So
work,
when you're-
I usually don't think of these like I'm going to make this exactly. It's more like
You could use it as like a.
this is where I'm going to start from. You know.
Can you walk us
Almost
through
to
maybe the
say
process
a
of that?
concept.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just. It's different for every artist, but I usually take something like this and just block out the shapes and kind of play with them and see what feels good. Because some stuff, when it's drawn, doesn't look great in 3D when you're walking around it. So you gotta see it in the context of the game, I guess.
Maybe? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then you throw colors on it and just kind of detail it up.
Now, do you view as part of the asset creation incorporating the trees that you see with these buildings? Because not every place a node can pop up will have, actual trees. And
Like I'm doing.
Yeah,
may need to
I
then
think you're
incorporate
talking
that.
yourself out of it right now, right? I like where this is going.
there you go.
Making it easy.
Devin's like, this
Just
will
no
make my
trees.
life easier.
Yeah, you just wow.
That is definitely going to be, I think, the hardest thing about these
Will you have to
assets.
program something
Exactly,
extra
is
in
having
that to
a-
like to allow for the trees to be
Not even
part of the
just
building?
programming, just modeling.
I'll have to
Are you
figure.
modeling?
The hard part is like what happens when a human building's there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like the trees got to be
It
part
goes
of the
away.
elf building,
Yeah.
but then you don't want it to just look
The
like
human
someone
comes
dumped a
along with
little
an
elf
axe
build.
when it's transitioning, and he chops the building down
Big axe.
like a huge axe, right? And then the building disappears, and the human building appears.
That's the
You
easy.
have a giant-
I think the hard part is you want that area to feel like that tree makes sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take that, you don't want it to just look like you just stuck
So
a tree in the middle of the
here's a great
field.
thing, because those are all like conceptual. I view the Pyre like settler walking up with a magical like
a little
beanstalk
seed,
seed,
yeah.
and he
Aw,
lays it, and the
cute.
building begins to grow kind of out of the ground magically.
Mhm.
So I can get past that suspension of disbelief. Why isn't there a
I
tree
love
here?
that. I never heard that part before. That's
So
Yeah.
what about all the other trees around it?
Well,
That's where it gets tricky.
they're wood elves.
I like that one with the red.
Yeah.
Maybe those trees are
The red
alive.
little
These are
blooms.
ent trees, so they walk with the elves to the new location
Oh,
they're settling,
no.
and then they settle in,
It's like no.
and they just see. Now this is called scope creep, and they just settle in.
every
I'm gonna-
developer's like,
I'm
no.
gonna need that to happen. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I love ants though.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always like building tree things. I'm a big gardener at home, so
Oh,
I really
really?
Oh,
love
that's
tree stuff.
So will you use a lot of that as
gonna
inspiration for this when
reference
you're
that?
working on that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like that kind of like that bridgy one almost. It kind of
Mhm.
looks like it's coming out of that. I didn't realize that was kind of the
Cathedral-like.
lore of it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't the
No,
lore until
you
5
just made
minutes
it
ago.
up.
No, it was totally the lore.
100%.
Look at Jeff over there.
I'm just saying. Devin brought up some good points about these trees, and now we have to work our way around that mentally. Like, how does that actually happen?
Okay, I see.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut now.
I was like, I'm done. Well, thank you so much, Devin. Anything else that you want to kind of like tell our community and talk about?
No. We're making fun stuff. It should be more fun stuff later.
Yeah, we're excited.
And we hope you guys like it.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Devin. Bye.
And then, last but not least, before our Q&A, we have our character team. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, you can send them to us in the Twitch chat.
And you have seen this
Look,
gentleman before.
he's just chilling back there.
He was on one of our panels at PAX.
I was.
Welcome, Keith.
Yeah, Keith.
Hello, community.
Yay.
So for those out there who maybe haven't seen the panel before, tell us a little bit about who you are, your history, and what you do on our team.
Well, I'm a senior character artist here.
Yay.
And I've pretty much been a character artist probably since like 3rd grade.
Nice.
You know, when
What was your first character? you
everybody
made?
was making like ashtrays or like cups.
Ashtrays.
Graders making
Well, yeah, for like Father's Day gifts or whatever.
That's like my father's a chain smoker,
Yeah.
so am
So,
I.
well, hey, I'm old. That's what we used to make. But I wouldn't make
Can
that.
you
I would
imagine
make,
if
I would
kids
make
were
like a
making
creature.
ashtrays
I'm
in
sure
school
they
now?
do somewhere in the world.
Back in the day.
I
they
meant
used
like,
to.
yeah.
Or like say like a
Oh
cup
my
for
God.
mom or something, or a vase.
It's like a whole nother thing.
I would make
Steven.
deformed creatures, you know. And most of them would blow up in the kiln because I didn't really know about airlock
yeah,
and stuff.
like-
But whatever, you know.
Yeah, it happens.
So started.
You live, you
That's
learn.
fun.
Yeah.
And you were like one of the first employees.
Literally the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, employee number 1.
Employee number one.
What?
Yes.
So you've been here
Yeah.
for
It's
the
patient
long.
zero.
Yeah, patience. Yes.
It's been exciting.
I started with no computers.
Yes, there were no
It was a
computers.
Were you
There was
just
literally
drawing?
just a desk.
No, I just sat here. They came.
I walked by and I'm like, "How's it going today, Keith?" He's like, "It's fine, sir."
It's going good.
Oh goodness
The
gracious.
computers came quick, so.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about what the character team has been up to.
So, I mean, everyone will be happy to know that, like, pretty much all we do is MMO stuff. Like, just MMO. We're, like, full charging along. Jinsey and Carson are going through that promise board that we have, so everyone's seeing a lot of those updates. And me personally and Chris are really focusing on all the races, finalizing them and getting, like, the different...
We're not going to show those off today.
I know, we're not
you're
showing races.
You're teasing people,
Sorry.
but we have big plans with those. We want to make a big deal out of each
Well,
of
you have
those.
to make a big splash with
Yeah.
the races, and so, but like it's more on the technical end side of the way the armors are going to appear on the races, the racial differences between the armor sets when you put them on, how they scale accordingly to fit on, you know, if you're a fat person or a thin person, the way the all that stuff. So it's all a lot of technical stuff. So we really can't show a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yeah.
We're getting
Yeah, we have a lot of great sets that are coming. I mean, we've shared with you guys over the past few months, some of the sets as they come out, and I think the great thing about what the character team is doing is there's a wide variety of influences when it comes to the different designs of these armor sets, right?
Yeah.
So you'll be able to kind of pick and choose what type of appearances you want to have. Do you want to be the super traditional medieval type of knight dude, or do you want to be the more asymmetrical, maybe Eastern influence kind of robe guy,
Yeah.
or gal. So I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised when you see just the diversity that's among a lot of the character assets.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll be able to show them.
Yes, that is right.
So we do have some- we do have
Okay,
some
I'll take a
assets.
little bit of the blame for that. I'm sorry. They did want to show some stuff today, and I did not approve it. So,
But we are we are showing some of it.
Yes, we're showing
Steven
some.
still may not be that happy with all of it, but
oh yeah,
see, Steven's not happy with this one. It's still in progress, but we're working on it. I think what Keith you do a lot of times too is you'll
let's-
just take it as like an inspiration to drive like what you're creating. right?
Especially with like these pieces, because Jeff's really only given maybe a half a day to bang these out real quick to get like an example of the way it will transfer from one race to the other.
right.
So,
And these are very production-oriented
Very
concepts as well.
production-oriented, yes.
So, you guys are used to probably seeing, beautiful concepts of, in a setting, an illustration, and stuff like that. That's more like. Idea. This is way more production oriented, so
It's
that
quick.
the modelers have a reference they can utilize.
Yeah.
Actually.
yeah, and we asked them to do all the races. Like, here's one armor set. Hey, make it for every race now. Like how it would transfer over. And he did a really good job, real quick. Like banged it out. So we were able to produce all those pieces for all the races.
Yeah, absolutely. What else? We had
Yeah, we got some more
we have
stuff.
some creatures.
Yeah. So you did see this work in progress, and now you're seeing it with more texture, and it has a little
saddle.
seat, a little saddle,
bamboo.
and he's got
That's
little armor
Carson.
on. It's so cute.
Yeah, Carson modeled this. He did a really
This was
good
his
job.
second creature that he ever made.
Yeah.
He's normally our weapon artist, but he's been pumping out some animals because we need to fill up the world with awesome stuff too in the MMO.
Absolutely.
I love this saddle because it has like the little bamboo sticks on it. It feels really, what do you call it? Like natural.
I think it's getting an animation pass.
Yeah,
too.
I was gonna say I can't wait to see the
Yeah.
animal.
I want it to flip over in the water and you're on its belly.
So here you're seeing one of the first ever modeled dragons in Ashes.
Woo.
Jinsey's working on this.
Yeah.
And she's done a great job with the model. But yes, the answer is we do have real dragons, meaning four-legged dragons.
Yes, that's an actual dragon.
That is an
and the
actual
wings are
dragon. That's right. And as you guys know in the MMO, you'll be able to fly this thing if you're a guild leader of one of the castles owned in the game, or if you're a mayor of a metropolis. These will also come, as we've kind of discussed in the past, little wormlings that you can grant to officers if you're a castle owner, and they can fly around too. But this one in particular is the Ochre Legion dragon?
I'm not good with names.
I think it's the Ochre Legion dragon, which I think was like a year and a half ago or something. We released the concepts for, so you guys can actually see this get modeled. Wow, this is
Yeah.
Yeah,
From
speed
start to
sculpting
finish.
is
Yeah.
fun.
And there's also like the final texture of it. It looks so cool. But yeah, a lot goes into all these like little pieces. I think whenever we showed the Fellbeak, I think that was one of the first ones where we showed really the process of it. Jinsey's been amazing, and I love her for recording it for me. Keith, when am I gonna get some recording?
I have a recording. I'm not allowed to show
Oh
it.
yeah.
Oh no! No, Keith, you're throwing me shade.
Because that's what the
We're
race,
saving
the race
it.
stuff,
We're saving
right?
it.
Yeah,
It's a
that's-
lot of the
yeah.
race stuff.
Yeah, so I think like just being able to watch this process, a lot of people just didn't realize like
She's
how much
performing
goes into
dentistry
every
right
Yes.
yeah. Just this bring back memories, Stephen.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Actually, you know what? It doesn't, because I was totally out. No, I'm
Oh,
just-
okay.
And Jinsey's really fast, so
Oh,
if
Oh, no, that's the best part. Oh,
Well, now you can't start.
No,
Can
what
you not
have
go
you
fast?
done?
Yeah, the last part is the best part because it shows off like the texture.
It's okay. We'll run it on the,
We'll run it in the
and
background.
we'll show it in a little bit.
just
Yeah.
character artists like people that want to be character artists don't get intimidated by the speed at which Jinsey works, because she's really
a
fast.
beast.
Yeah, so
She's like apologizing. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "What, girl? Calm down."
Can we skip to the end of this?
I don't think you can.
Oh, sad.
I know. We can blame Ian. Hashtag blame Ian in chat.
Oh, no.
Just spam it. I want to see it. He's looking at the chat. He's the only one who can see the chat. Like we can kind of, but on a little tiny screen.
we could save it for later. We can always show them that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely share some. I know that once that's done, we're going to be posting an article that has like all of the beautiful screenshots of it in game. I know they're working on a saddle for it too. So
Saddles.
The
The thing that
saddle's
Jinsey-
done in this one.
I
Yeah.
think Jinsey's already moved on to another.
Yeah, she's on the. I can't say it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She
be
was
announced.
definitely. I think the thing for her was when she was creating this, going like, oh well, where does the person sit
Where
when
does
they're
the
riding
person
this,
sit?
right? Like,
Yeah, she brought
really
me
thinking
upstairs
about
and she
that.
was like, I want you to take a look at these different sizes. And we, I was like, that's good for the wormling, but let's make it, pretty big. But obviously, as you guys know, I mean, in an MMORPG, we have standards for different sizes of mounts so that accessibility when it comes to buildings and or places you want that mount to go or not go has to align. So this guy's not as big as we may want. He's still good size, but
Yeah, I mean, again, there'll be a ton of dragons.
Yes,
and
exactly.
A ton of different ways
this is an adolescent dragon. Well, not maybe wormling, but I would say he's an adolescent dragon, not the ancient or adult
Absolutely
not.
dragon.
Like huge,
Right.
yeah.
Those are the raid bosses.
yeah, for sure.
Which I think those are gonna be really fun for you all to create. Like, do you all enjoy creating like these crazy monsters? I think you said when you were a kid you drew monsters.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, that was like the first thing I did when I got here was I created the like the twisted little rabbits that
Oh,
run
yeah,
around
they're creepy,
and,
dude.
and the flangler.
There we go. All right.
Oh, nice.
All right.
So this is the final model that has been handed off to
Look at that.
animation.
I love the scale
And
texture.
you can see the detail on the dragon. And just the
There's the
saddle.
saddle.
It's
I just
pretty.
love the texture. I don't know. There you go. Get some.
I'm gonna tell you one thing about this dragon. It's not gonna get caught off guard by a fleet of ships.
You don't think so?
will not.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say what that's about for those who didn't see it. But it's not gonna be flying along one day high in the sky,
I
saying,
was-
"I can't see that fleet of
I
things."
was so mad. I was so mad.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
Jeff.
Keith.
We're gonna bring back our Jeffrey. Our Jeffers, and we're gonna answer some questions. I think we're doing good on time today, so
Are we good?
Yeah, we're doing good. We're trucking along.
Let's
just as
get
we-
every single question
I mean,
answered.
we've been
That's
able to
true.
do
Yeah,
that. So we're willing to stay late if we have to.
Yay.
So the first question we have is from Unknown on the forums, and they want to know: we have been told that there will be seamless transitions from area to area. How does Ashes plan to deal with an event, perhaps organized by the community, that tries to put thousands of people in a node at once, and the problems that might create?
So that's a super engineering question. However, we can give you a pretty limited answer on it.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it comes to networking in MMOs, you have zones that have handshakes between each other, right? And
Yeah.
you have servers that are handling the clients connected in that zone.
Even when it's
or-
seamless, that's still how it's architected.
That's still, yeah, exactly. It's still how it's architected and how we're going with the architecture. But the idea is that our server architecture is more about load balancing. What is going to be present at these large battles and the connections between these zones, and we don't want that to impact at all, like the area where that handshake occurs or where that zone is split.
If there's too many people in the zone, you have to
no,
get another
my hand.
instance.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we're addressing it. We have our own custom backend with that. We're working with certain partners as well in regards to that backend. And part of what is being tested with regards to Apocalypse, for that question in particular, is just how many we can fit on a single dedicated server. Even though we're going to have many servers that handle this load, we want to be able to max them out as much as possible.
Yeah, and then we also have some clever tricks in terms of relevancy of one character to another character, so that we can shove even more people on top of that. So
Absolutely. Well, did I answer? Did I just go off on a
No,
tangent?
no,
I think you're pretty
good.
much on.
Our next
Because
question
I haven't
is
seen
from
any of
P
these
Millhouse 24, who wants to know: will we experience different tidal patterns in the ocean?
Tidal patterns?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to be modeling tidal patterns.
Yeah, they won't be. I mean, what you will see is kind of more related to perhaps time of day or seasonal, right?
Yeah, doing dynamic tides
Yeah.
is
we're not
that's
gonna
a
be
very
doing that.
big problem
Yeah.
to solve.
But I think the question there is aimed at, will the ocean just be static content all the time? And no, we do have a way that we want to represent unique content at certain times or
Yep.
with regards to certain climates.
All right. Our next question is from Erraticus from the forums, and I think this question is for our flat earthers.
Oh my.
Will the world map be global? Meaning, if I walk west, will I eventually get back to where I was, or will there be invisible walls or unscalable mountains at the edges of the map?
So we actually are going to
talked about
test.
this.
We're going to
Yeah.
test that actually.
Yeah.
We have plans to do both and see how it impacts.
And we've got a couple of different strategies to solve the global problem that we're going to try. So there's going to be multiple iterations of this. We're going to find the best one for us in terms of what makes the most sense, because it changes how we want to lay out the map, especially the edges of the map, where if this is the closest point to this, we really need to be thinking about it.
Yes,
Um,
and because we're continental, right? We don't really need to worry about mountain range blocking off the edge
Right.
of the map, right? We have oceans,
Right.
that exist, and those oceans are fully connected. So that's not so much the issue. It's really more about strategically how it impacts our design on the economics of the game, the traversability and movement,
Right.
and more so than a actual engineering thing.
Okay. Our next question is from Heath R2 from the forums, and wondering, other than taxes, will the only way that nodes get resources from players be by their own prerogative, or will there be something else that forces that?
So caravans also supply certain resources. completing quests will do, but the majority of it will be related to players. I mean,
Right, and the
idea
mayor
is
trying
have-
to
yeah.
incent players to
Exactly.
participate in those systems, right? Because it's all the players working together to maintain the health of the node, not just the mayor. So
Right.
part of being a mayor is being a good leader and getting your citizens to work on the node's behalf. So
And the when you mentioned that taxes would be the only way that it collects resources, taxes don't collect resources in the sense of what we consider resources to be. It collects definitely money, and money is the engine for how you incentivize the players.
Yeah. And our next question is from Zinni. I love Zinni's art. Zinni's been making us
Zin.
all
Z?
Z. Never
Z.
mind. You're right. Zinni's different. Zinni also is very
We
active.
still
on our
love
Discord.
Zinni. We
Yeah.
love you, Zinni.
We love Zinni as well. Zinni's
Yes.
very active on our Discord as well,
Absolutely.
leaving lots of comments and stuff. Will we be able to place mayor campaign banners on our caravan? So they want to be like, vote for Zinni on their.
So we are. I know previously we had spoken about not allowing custom user images in the
But you
game.
can make.
However, I think we're leaning more now in the direction of allowing for custom user
Really?
images. Yes.
That's going to be a whole approval process.
It is absolutely. Well, what it will be is the fact that we're a subscription game, and if you want to jeopardize your account by doing the wrong thing with regards to custom users, then by all means you may do so, and we'll have stringent practices in place to prevent that from actually being an issue. What was I going to say? Oh, so with regards then to the mayoral campaigns, if we're going to allow custom user images, then yes, you could totally do mayoral campaigns.
it's a lot of fun too.
Absolutely. I remember how useful it was, and the reason I will admit this, what kind of influenced my decision on that a little bit is in Arcade, and I hate having keep referencing back to Arcade because
Sometimes that's the best way to tell a story.
that's right. So those of you who played Arcade will know that you could purchase these custom, white canvases, and you could place them in your city or on your buildings or whatever. And we used to have our guild had an entire zone to ourselves, a city, even at the beginning of the game. And I used those to upload notepad texts to inform the guild members on what they needed to do in certain areas, when there was a guild call, where they needed to meet, if they wanted to use the crafting stations. It was really useful. And I also used it to put pictures of my dogs up in my house as well, which was cool too. So
Having your own
Makes
custom
it feel
frame
like
picture
home.
frames is
Yes.
cool. Yeah. Okay. And then Hijarim wants to know, will dynamic destruction also affect ships, or is it limited to just structures?
It's a question we can't
details.
answer right yet.
yeah,
But depending on the solutions that we find to destruction, yes or no.
sure.
Okay. You have something to add, or that's it?
No, that's fine. I mean,
Okay.
traditionally, if we did not use dynamic destruction, then what we would use is decals to simulate damage on the ship based on an overall hit point value. At certain hit point values, we would swap out the mesh to show a more destructed state potentially. And at that point, for user in regards to immersion, both are very similar from the immersion factor, right? It's
You don't
definitely
really
cooler to
notice
have
it.
dynamic destruction.
It's just a matter of whether we can
Yeah,
find the right solution.
for those specific meshes. For
Right.
the buildings, it's a different story. Yeah.
Also, I'm really sorry if I butcher people's names. Ozelotl wants
not.
to know, will there be a sneak mechanics usable? Yeah,
Isn't that like a Mesoamerican
yeah, like the
bird?
no, there's like a
that's
little.
a
Quetzalcoatl.
Oh, Texacoatl. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there is an. What's that creature called? It's like a little fish.
Chupacabra.
No, it's like a little fish thing and it changes. Anyways, I thought that's what it was, but maybe not. Will there be a sneak mechanic usable for all classes, or will stealth be limited to rogues? Will any or all classes have counter stealth mechanics? Ooh, that's
There
fun.
will be counter stealth mechanics for sure. That's just a natural balancing act
Yep.
of stealth. But additionally, with regards to secondary classes, one of those aspects is augments represent the secondary class,
Right.
and one of the most fundamental aspects of a rogue is stealth,
Right.
Whether it be actual invisibility or the ability to sneak around in the shadows or something. So you can almost certainly count on the fact that should you go a secondary class of rogue, that there will be the ability to influence your action items from your primary class with the stealth
Oh,
modifier.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Kimnesia actually has a really good follow-up question. Will secondary classes immediately give you access to all augments for skills, or will there be a form of progression necessary for each primary and secondary class combination?
There will definitely be a progression.
Yes,
necessary.
yeah. It's part of the progression system for the augments is very similar to the progression system for your main class.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Our next question is from Matseo, who wants to know, you've mentioned that the highest skilled players in each artisan class won't be masters of all. How deep is this specialization? Will it be as specialized as armor smithing, more specific like plated armor smithing, or even as specific as steel plated armor smithing?
So when we reference not being masters of all, that doesn't mean you're not a master within your own one of the 3 artisan types, which is, crafter, gatherer, processor. You will be a master of one of those. You will not be a master of the other 2. So, for example, if you're a master of, crafting, and we'll reveal this later with some of the blogs that I know are already written up about professions, but the professions exist within those paths. And as you master one of those paths, you get to master the professions that are in it as well. It's just the amount of time you spend in mastering it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, did that answer the question?
Yeah, it definitely did. Wine Crow wants to know, is there still a chance we will get some form of the character creator during Apocalypse, or will we need to wait for Alpha 1? I think
So,
beta.
what, the character creator?
Yeah.
No, character creator is Alpha 1,
Okay.
I believe. Yes, there is a chance. There is a chance that it would come before Alpha 1, but there's also a chance that it would be
Right.
Alpha 1.
This is the character creator is kind of separate from our
Those
alpha
2
beta cadence,
milestones,
right?
exactly.
So you could see it before or after, depending on how much progress we make on it.
Right.
It is a separate thing though that will be included, at some point.
Yes.
Awesome. And then Caloron wants to know, will there be a typed chat system in Apocalypse for the upcoming playtest?
There will not be a typed chat system, no. Currently, there is just voice over IP in lobby and voice over IP in game.
Okay. And then the Lazy Peon wants to know,
Lazy Peon, what's up, buddy?
will there be a PTR or test server post-launch for upcoming content? If so, how do you stop players from feeling like they've already experienced all the new stuff during testing before content is fully released?
So we have a unique,
That's a good question.
Well, we have a unique solution for that, at least with regards to content, right? Is that the way some of our content system is, at least with regards to text, is there's an ability for us to make sure during some of the earlier testing periods that it will not be the content you actually experience.
It's like different
the
quests.
storyline.
It'll be like a placeholder stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of what we want to do, because a story is very central and to Ashes of Creation's experience, and we don't want that story to be revealed too early. Obviously, once we hit beta, that's where it will be revealed, and there's nothing really we can do about that.
Yeah, and I think that there'll be little stories that you learn that are kind of like side stuff, right?
That's related, but not the core,
Right.
not the core narrative.
Exactly.
But you'll still get the basics of like the systems and things of that sort and how the
Yes.
questing system works, so that'll help.
So to sum up there real quick, there's really no way we can truly stop it before launch, but we can mitigate some of it in alpha.
And then Digital Wind wants to know, if my favoritist ship is lost due to PvP or PvE, is it gone forever?
No, you can repair your ships.
All right.
You can repair your ships, but it is a lengthier process than you've seen probably in other games. And most importantly, you can only launch your ship again even when repaired from land. So.
And then Larry wants to know, what is the planned ratio of race/class specific quest to all other quests? That's a very specific question. If I pick a different race and class as my friends, what can we play together? I think it reads a little weird. What can't we do together? Like, are there certain things we can and cannot do together?
There will definitely be certain things that you will not do together because you're separate races potentially, but those aren't core storyline quests.
Right. I don't picture that ever being that they can't help you out.
Oh
though.
yeah, they could help.
Right, like you may not be on the same quest,
Same
but you
quest,
can
yes.
still do things together to finish that quest, right? We're never gonna unless it's like some kind
solo
of
instance.
solo instance thing, you're always gonna be able to have other people play with you during those kinds of events.
And I think we're trying to avoid those, other than maybe for very specific story
There will be
things,
specific
right?
and definitely will be part of the game, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the storytelling, but we want to make sure that the person who's playing a tank feels like a tank in their experience of the game.
So to kind of aid them, if you're on a quest and you're a different race than me, like that, and I'm a dwarf and I'm like, oh, I want to join and help you, and you are on a instance quest path, for instance, would I still be able to join you even if I'm not on the quest, if it's like a group thing?
Yes.
It's
Okay.
a group thing.
If it's a group thing, yes.
As long as it's not like a
Right.
solo thing. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Okay, cool.
And the ratio of that is going to be relatively low, right? Like there will be very specific quest paths for those, races, for classes. We generally want everybody to be able to do everything, but there are certain types of stories that we'll be doing that way. But they're not going to be the vast majority of them.
Yeah,
by any
I would
means.
say far above 80%, probably like 90% are quests that should be
Shareable
done by
and
shareable.
done by everybody.
Yeah, but the 10% that it does exist will be split among like race specific, title specific,
Mm-hmm.
your mayor, guild specific, potentially ownership specific, right?
All right. And then Lumbermark wants to know, are we going to see a difference in the visual effects of a single spell when it levels up? So as a spell levels up, will we see?
There
it look
will be hooks, and there will be part of our skill progression will also include the ability to add rider effects onto the primary effects so that it's distinguishable. And also from a threat assessment standpoint on the battlefield, we want you to know the kind of loadout that another enemy might have, and you can tell a lot of that by not just their armor, what they're geared towards, but also their effects that are being used.
And we want to have a consistent design language for all of that stuff so that it's easy to grok what's going on in the game. But, also not even just in those examples that Stephen gave, but also, like, let's say you have Firebolt at level 1, right? And it levels up at level 5, it turns into a Fireball. You're going to see the difference there, too. Basically, the FX will follow the functionality of the ability that you're using.
Cool. And then Black Sun Empire is asking a question specifically about something we had addressed in our first creative director's letter back in, I think, March, and wanted to know, can you share an update on the withdrawal from the payment provider Zola?
Yes, so that is still planned. However, many of the new account services that we turned on in December were very closely integrated into a lot of other systems. And the modularity to swap in a different payment provider needed some work, but unfortunately that work took a backseat to a lot of the back-end changes that were being done by both our platform and engineering team.
Our platform team has been so busy.
Yes, they've been very, but they just code locked. They just code locked on a lot of the changes from the platform side. And we've had some very great, meaningful consultation with some of the DBs we're using, database companies we're using, and AWS as well.
Them, right? Yeah.
So they've been great with that. But progress report with that is it is coming up soon to do that swap. Trademark, and we'll keep you updated with that. But
We'll
that'll be a matter
probably have something. If we did do that, we'd let you know in advance. We'd have an FAQ to kind of answer a lot of those questions. We've been trying to do that with any big thing that we have. For instance, like the opening in August 20th, we're going to have an article that comes out before that, kind of answering a lot of questions in advance. So hopefully those answer your questions before you even hop into the game or see those changes being made. Our next question here is from two different people. They had similar questions, so we're flagging them all in one. Devin Cook 2 and Pellman kind of were asking, what kinds of exotic weapons can we expect to see in game? Will there be glaives, whips, scythes, katanas, things like that?
So there will be exotic weapons. The question is how many of them will function outside of like our normal weapon class system, right? So a katana will likely you'll find like an example of it, right, in a one-handed sword, or a glaive will fall into the halberd category. Something like a whip we've talked about, but whips are problematic if we want them to actually look fantastic. So you will see them probably represented in categories that already exist. And then sort of the more exotic, those are still open discussions that we're having.
All right, and then Devin Cook also had another question here. For economic nodes, will players be able to donate towards a mayoral campaign so that a relatively less wealthy player with better policies can still win versus the wealthier player with bad policies? I mean, that's all voting. Y'all gotta just.
Well, so the way you, I don't know if we released this information yet, but I don't have.
I don't think we have.
Oh.
I know we have an article that's coming out later that will be about
the intent
processes.
of the mayoral election in an economic node is it was about economic nodes, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is
Is
economic.
an oligarchy basically where the player purchases the mayorship. In that sense, there will be a mechanism for you to have help with your friends, but it's not going to be as simple as just transferring gold, because obviously we want to make sure that our behavioral metrics when it comes to flagging the gold sellers in the game and making sure that they're not prevalent. We want to mitigate that to understandable transactions, and if the excuse is
But yes, you will be able to support your friends or people whose policies you agree with.
I think we'll probably find a design way to make it so you can vote or like
kind of
pay
directly with that.
pay,
But
yeah.
it is definitely a thing that we want to, make part of that contest is where are you going to get this money from, and who has the most of it, and how can you combat that?
Part of what we've discussed in the past is, those friends must be either members of an economic node or the economic node that you're in and trying to get mayorship, and they can convert a certain number of their coins each week or something to the elected coin.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And our next question is from Mazda69 wants to know, other than the mayor, are there any other prominent positions in the node leadership that have different gameplay mechanics available to them? Or is it simply the mayor and everyone else is a civilian of that node?
No, there's absolutely positions. And we drive those positions by title from a design perspective, right? When you have that position, you gain that title, and that grants you the access flag with a lot of the NPCs in the town or whatnot. Outside of like organizations, hierarchies within the organizations, the director of that organization inside of a particular node, priests or acolytes in certain temples that might be part of the node, patron guild leader, chief bounty hunter. There's a lot of things that you can strive for within the guild that grant you that special treatment. Within the node, absolutely.
All right. And then Ruanaku wants to know, or Ruanku, there we go, wants to know, what game rating are you aiming for, and will there be tasteful nudity? I think we've kind of chatted about nudity before. About a specific location of nudity, but...
So
on the beach.
Yeah.
No, it's a body part, specifically. But
What?
Yeah.
What's happening?
They were asking, people asked this question before, but it was about a specific body part.
Oh, dear.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, so the answer to that is we're probably going to end up around teen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We I don't know. We
That's
don't want
where
to
we
push
want
it to
to be.
mature, obviously. So will there be tasteful nudity? No. I don't think
untasteful
so.
No, that's not the
I'm just
goal.
kidding.
That's not the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there definitely be sensualized atmospheres within the game, but it won't be direct on nudity.
All right. And Blighted wants to know, will there be any full loot systems that allow all gear currently equipped to be dropped on death, perhaps outside of the corruption system in certain areas of the world, a la RuneScape's Wilderness, for high risk and high reward?
No. No, there will not be a full drop. And the reason for that is because, our intention when it comes to progression within the world is we want it to be meaningful and, take some investment on behalf of the player. And if even if from a design standpoint, we're like, yeah, but they have to choose to go to the area. We don't want a choice that a player can make where they delete their character, so to speak. Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this will be fun. I lost all my gear. Okay, I quit.
Yeah, I quit. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, they'll probably just put in a CS ticket and then no, I'm just kidding. That's what normally happens.
I didn't mean to go there.
Yeah.
It was an accident.
I was drunk.
My friend took
so
over my
many times.
computer.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. All the time. My brother did something. He logged in. Joint wants to know, will you be able to see other players' levels and equipment characteristics? So like if you were to inspect someone.
So it's something we talked about early on with regards to having the ability for the player to show their gear.
Yeah.
The concern that we had there, and we haven't gone down coding this yet in the MMO, and I don't know if we will, but the concern there is that it becomes now a barrier for entry in certain activities, right? It's one thing to say, hey, show me your gear. And it's another thing to be like, send me an instant message on Discord and send me a picture of your gear stats. And so,
Right.
not everybody's going to jump to that conclusion, except the most hardcore people. So we don't want that to be a barrier for entry that, players can't, participate in certain groups unless they have their gear shown.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a problem in MMOs, right? Where you know, people stop looking at the skill of the player or the fun that they're having in an experience, and instead just look at raw stats, which really they can give an indication of player capability, but oftentimes people get stuck in a loop where they don't have enough gear, so they can't do a thing to progress, and so they get stuck like without being able to do that, even though they might be very good players who can handle themselves in that situation. So we are trying to play on a fine line of giving people enough tools to kind of see who they're playing with, but also not result in the stratification of unnecessary stratification.
And obviously, we accept and know that we cannot stop people from doing that if they're intending on doing it. But what we can do is slow it down a little bit, and hopefully that mitigates some of it.
And I guess a follow up to that, because I'm speaking for the peoples. The peoples. What about? I mean, so are you expecting that guilds who are looking for specifically geared players to find alternate ways to be able to provide that? Like,
what? Which one was that?
It's the same topic. It's like, you know.
No, there's
in
no way
regards
we can
to-
stop a guild leader from saying, jump on Discord and let me see your character.
Gotcha.
You can't stop that.
Okay.
What you can.
Well, I'm not saying stop that.
Oh.
Is that what you're expecting people to do? Is what I'm saying.
No, what we expect people to play and utilize skill to be an indicator of their capabilities within a party for yourself, not necessarily rely entirely on stats, because obviously, you know.
So I kick you out when you're being a pleb.
Right, and that should be I mean, in my opinion, as an MMO player, I have seen many guilds, and I will say even my guild was guilty of this as well. Is that, you know, to be a part of certain what we used to call constant parties, you had to have a certain level of equipment value, and you know, in my opinion, that kind of sucks, because the whole purpose of being a part of a party is to progress and get better equipment.
You need gear to progress.
No, what happens is you should look at an individual based on their capabilities, commitment, time to play, all of those things as a guild leader, and take into account what the investment will be to bring them on board, even if they're lesser to a degree of another person's equipment value. You
So like
bring
a
them on board
DKP
for the
system.
person.
Like a
No. You bring them on board for the person, and then if you want them to get to a certain skill level, or excuse me, equipment level, you help them get there. Yeah.
But that's like a DKP system where you like looking at
DKP system is where you get legal with it, and you say
how often you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
where
well,
get
you said
legal.
attendance. You said.
Well, I also had a DKP system, but I subsidized my DKP system. I would put in like Amazon cards, trip to the Vegas guild meeting, and then we had a custom programmer, you know, get us a web page where we would track all the DKP, and if you just came to events, you got DKP, and then you'd bid at the end of each week on all the guild assets, and people could donate stuff to the guild, which would then go on the store, and whatever they donated, they'd get a certain portion of DKP as well. We had we had thousands of people in the guild, so.
Oh goodness.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I was a little bit over OCD with that system, but it was
Sounds like it worked good.
It was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
It was very good.
And then Diggs wants to know. We've been told that a group of summoners can work together to summon a golem with the subclasses of summoners, or with the subclasses of the summoners. Will the subclasses of the summoners make a difference in regards to what the group can summon?
Most likely. I don't know about
changing
what
the
they
golem.
can summon, no, but they might be able to change the attributes of that summon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will sort of depend on how much time we end up having towards the end. You know, we've got a goal specifically for this, you know, siege golem basically, and its progression. But also, like, we would love to get lots of different types. But
And that might be later content.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Paradox wants to know, we know there will be racial augments, but will there be cosmetic only, or will these be cosmetic only, or will they affect how the abilities work?
Racial augments will be both. They'll be cosmetic, and they will affect the ability and how they work.
Okay, and then Dark Seraph and Jinx the Gamer both had similar questions. Will some items have special effects that are passive or on use abilities?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Violetta wants to know, and this is the rest of these questions are from our Russian community. Will one guild
Dobry den.
hi guys.
Comrades.
Will one guild or alliance be able to advance all 3 nodes near the castle, or will we need help from other players and guilds?
I'm sorry, I was trying to think about the Russian words. I know.
Will one guild or alliance be able to advance all 3 nodes near the castle, or will we need help from other
So
players
it'll be
and guilds?
you will need well, I'm sorry. It'll be very, very, very difficult to do it just as a solo guild. It would be much easier if you had help, but yes, technically you could do it as a solo guild.
Yeah, technically yes, but we want you to be participating in the greater, broader community because you control a region, and so we want you to participate in that region
And be a little diplomatic.
Yeah.
And Sergey wants to know, will there be a contract system between players? For example, can I become a mercenary and sign a contract with another player who wants to hire me to protect his caravan? That would be cool. Like,
Contracts are very cool ideas. They're very difficult to code around.
yeah, because like, how do you if you break
is-
the contract? What's the parameters?
It
right?
is tough
Yeah.
because we have looked at this a little bit, and we want to do something
Unless
like
it's
that.
like an immediate quest that like is timed or
There
a
are
quest,
some.
right?
There are some.
Be weird.
There are some places where you can do that.
Yeah.
You can definitely are, but contracts would have to be relatively limited in terms of
it's
how.
just a-
So we already have certain features that are contracts, so to speak, right? That incentive system that Jeff was speaking about earlier that the mayor has is sort of a contract system. He's dedicating funds from the node as a reward if a person completes a task, right? So there's a contract. Complete the task, get the reward, and a player has control over that. With regards to caravans, if players come near your caravan and they see the option to join as a defender or attack the caravan or do nothing, if they join as a defender, there are also levers that the owner of the caravan can provide as a reward should the caravan be successful as well that he can provide. So that, I mean, those are sort of contracts, but they're not like, in the spirit of what this question
I cut my
is,
blood.
which is like, I initiate
If you
a trade
violate this
window,
contract,
and
there are
there's
these
this.
penalties, and
No, that almost certainly will not. be the case.
Redlining.
it's very tough to make that happen. It would take a lot of work to make a system that we'd be happy with, right? Like we could throw something out and it would.
And that's
be
not
janky,
just
and that's not what we
cosmetic.
want.
I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of those systems really aren't contracts. They're just like, hey, I get to look at a cool contract screen.
Right.
Right? And then the player has an option to break the contract, and then what is it?
Right.
It's nothing.
Yeah. And then our next question is from Alexi wanting to know, will I be able to participate in a node siege on any side if I'm not a citizen of either the defending or attacking node? If yes, will I receive any rewards for participating? And I think,
Yes and yes.
okay.
Yes. You can apply to help to defend the node and be approved, or you can just show up and attack a node. Now the difference is with castle sieges, you have to be a part of one of the guilds that's registered. But with a node, yeah, you could just show up and there will be a person NPC you talk with outside of the battlefield and join on either side.
Even if you're not a citizen?
Even if you're not a citizen.
Damn. All right.
Yeah, that's part of the way that you may have an attachment to a node that you're not a citizen of because it provides a service or because it's a
your
great
friends are
waypoint for
there.
right. And so we want to make sure that we support that.
Obviously, there's restrictions because it'll depend on your other affiliations. For example, if you're, a citizen of another node that's at war with that node, then you wouldn't be able to join as a defender. But yeah,
So if you meet the criteria, yes, and you can get rewards, yes.
yes.
Okay, cool. Anatoly wants to know, will there be buffs and debuffs that depend on climate zone or season? That's neat.
Probably not class-based buffs, right? But they might be buffs or debuffs based on the type of climate that you're in, or it might be an organizational thing where if you're part of the Frost Guard and you're in a wintry area, you might have some bonuses.
Same true for items. So your character may not, from a skill standpoint, but your items might be, a frost cloak, and you get a certain passive bonus when you're in the winter area. Same is true for crops. Certain building and crafting mechanics will also be susceptible to climate changes.
All right, and that wraps up all
Thank
the
you,
questions
our
that we got
Russian
from-
questions. Do svidaniya.
Thank you all so much for submitting questions. We're going to try to keep with this format. People seem to be liking it. We're going to have more people from our teams joining us. I know a lot of the leads are trying to see who would be interested in joining.
We get volunteers first, then we get voluntold.
Nice.
But people seem to be okay. They're fine. Just reminders, check our news page. We'll be putting new stuff all the time over there on ashesofcreation.com/news. And also, of course, follow us on all of our social media channels: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all those things. We post a lot of things up there as well. And then, of course, if you are just tuning into this right now and maybe you want to go check it out, or if you want to watch it again later, you'll be able to watch it immediately on our Twitch channel, but we'll also be uploading it over on our YouTube channel if you want to go over there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hi. Leave us a comment down below. We love reading those. We do read them all. And sometimes we reply to them. So thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you guys next month for another Ashes of Creation live stream.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.